Hi Fad Campers, it's Grace here and I have some new stand updates I'd love to tell you about. If you're based in the UK, I will be doing some dates in July and August and I'd love to see some of you there. I'll be in Leeds doing a work in progress with Amy Annette on July 4th in the Hyde Park Book Club. I'll be in Brighton on July 6th with Alison Spittle in the Comedia Comedy Club, and I'm going to be doing my own work in progress show in Glasgow on July 12th at Good Egg Comedy. Also then, I will be at the Edinburgh Fringe, of course, for the entirety of August, from July 30th to August 24th. I'll be at the Assembly George's Square, the Crate, 10 to 3 every day. Would love if you could tell anyone you know who's going to be at the Edinburgh Fringe to come see my show. I'd really appreciate it. Thanks, guys.
This show is part of the Head Stuff Podcast Network.
Hello, Fad Camp listeners. It's Grace here. Let's be honest, your favourite Fad Camp presenter. We won't tell Conor. As you might know, I am a stand-up comedian and I'm currently working on a new show. I'll be performing all over the UK over the next few months, whipping my new show, Did You Hear We're All Going to Die, into shape. I would love to see some of you there. It's going to be great crack. So I'll be at the Leicester Comedy Festival on February 6th. In London, I'll be at the Top Secret Comedy Club March 6th. The Glasgow, I'll be at the Glasgow International Comedy Festival March 15th. And I'll be at the London Irish Centre with Alison Spittle on March 27th. That's going to be a great gig. There'll be even more shows announced for further months. All of the details and tickets are in the link on my Instagram bio, which is Grace Mulvey Comedy. So just go to my Instagram account, Grace Mulvey Comedy, click on the link and you'll get all the details. Thanks.
What's the best way to reduce? Eat plenty or starve yourself?
30 pounds in just 18 weeks. Jenny Craig totally worked.
I love to eat, but overeating made it impossible to lose weight.
My body wants bread, and I'm gonna give my body what it wants.
Oh my God.
So I lost
Naturally.
Medical studies prove that overeating is the number one reason for weight gain. If you need to lose weight, use safe and natural springs away and bring your weight down without the use of
Welcome to Fad Camp, a podcast that throws a comedy eye over our societal obsession of diets. Now, a little disclaimer, we are not health experts, but we are fad diet connoisseurs. I'm your host, comedian Grace Mulvey.
And I'm your co-host, Conor Dowling.
Welcome to Fad Camp.
Hello and welcome to a brand new episode of Fad Camp. Conor, how are you?
I'm good, Grace. Thanks for having me on the show.
Oh, stop. Every time you do this, you little prankster. You're co-host, goddammit, and co-creator. Conor, I want to ask you a very simple question. Is it just me? Is it just me? Or have you noticed there's a bit of protein overload going on right now?
I'd go a step further and say it's a bit of protein mania, like Beatlemania.
Absolutely, you know? Absolutely. Not since the Beatles were on Ed Sullivan show in the 60s has there been such a mania.
From Liverpool.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think protein is a word that I must see about 1,000 times a day, whether it's in articles or if I go into a shop, I feel like the word protein punches me in the face if I go into the supermarket. Yes. Okay?
Oh,
everything has been proteinized at the moment. And I want to say that I would go as far as to say that protein is the new diet. Would you agree?
Oh, I mean, yeah, I'm excited to hear this take. Absolutely. Like being a man of the vegan community, that is like the word that people use to like just shit all over your beliefs. Where do you get your protein?
Yeah. I'd say it's the first question you're asked if you're vegan.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It's the big one. So, there's a lot of misinformation and pseudoscience out there about it, and I'm excited to hear all about it.
Do you know what? It's a big topic that I was like I've had it on the list of topics we wanted to cover. And you know what? And then I did a bit of an old Google and I found a few amazing articles. I actually think there's one particular article, I'll put out all the articles I'm using as a sort of reference in the show notes, but there's one particular article from The Guardian called Protein Mania, the rich world's new diet obsession. And that is, it's so funny that you said protein mania. When you said it, I was like, have you read this article? But
no, I haven't read it.
I agree with this article, Protein Mania, and I do think it's the rich world's new diet obsession. Absolutely.
Okay.
Now, just to give a bit of an intro, right? In the 2000s, carbohydrates were demonized by fans of the Atkins diets. In the 1990s, fashionable women subsisted on cabbage soup diets for a week at a time, mostly farting, I imagine. Today's mania for protein aligns with the vogue for wellness and the ultra shredded physiques flaunted on the television shows such as Love Island, and by I can never say this, and by athletic leisure wearing influencers on Instagram. Eva Simmons of the blog Not Plant Based says protein is diet culture masquerading as something that fuels exercise. In reality, most of us aren't doing enough exercise that is necessary to require that much protein. Now, Yep. The NHS, which is for any of our American listeners or anyone outside of the UK and Ireland, is the National Health Service. You might know it, but it's basically the hospital service in the UK. Recommends a daily protein intake of about 15 grams, which is the same as two small chicken breasts.
That's not much at all.
That is not much at all. Okay. Claire Thornton Wood, a dietitian and member
That's not much at all. I'm sorry. That is... I need to sit with that for a minute.
A daily protein take of 50 grams, two small chicken breasts.
Sorry, did you say 50 grams or 15 grams?
50.
Okay. Yeah, still not a lot.
Two small chicken breasts is what I'm saying. Okay.
Sure. That's easy to get over the course of a day or in a meal even.
In one meal. I mean, if there's a lot of guys I know who would be gym bros who chicken breasts, they might have like 5 in a day. Yeah. Claire Thornton Wood, who's a dietitian and a member of the British Dietetic Association, said a protein deficiency is very unusual in a developed country. Mm-hmm. People think about protein as meat and fish, but there's protein in many different foods, from cereals to vegetables. The body can only really break down about 20 to 30 grams of protein at a time. She goes on to say, if you eat more than that in one sitting, you're basically weeing it out. It's going down the toilet.
You're weeing chicken breasts? Come on, guys.
You're pissing that chicken breast away. Now, the recommended a minimum amount of 0.8 grams of protein a day per kilogram of body weight. Okay,
yes.
So that means that for sometimes heavier people, you might need a bit more. For lighter people, it just depends on your body weight and also actually where you are in your if you're going through a lot of change, you might need a bit more protein. Say if you're going through adolescence, pregnant women need more protein, and actually the elderly need more protein. But the recommendation is 0.8 grams of protein per kilogram of body weight. According to a 2015 data from the UN Food and Agriculture Organization, the average person in the US and Canada gets a full 90 grams of protein a day, a fifth more than is recommended. The average European is not far behind with 85 grams of protein a day, and the average Chinese consumer consumes 75 grams of protein a day. So, as we're saying, we seem to be getting a lot more protein. Why is that? Well, things like protein balls, protein bars, protein shakes, protein noodles, protein bagels, protein cookies, protein coffee, protein pancakes, protein burger buns, protein muffins, protein nachos, protein croissants. You name it, protein has been stuffed into it. Even foods that are naturally high in protein, such as cheese and yogurt, are being sold in protein-boosted versions. Strangest of all might be the protein water, which is a clear, fruit-flavoured water laced with whey protein.
Oh my
as
God.
If ordinary water wasn't healthy enough. According to the market research firm Mintel, 6.1% of food and drink product launches in 2020 claimed to be high protein or contain added protein, up from 3.3% in 2016. So that's 6.1% in 2020, up from 3.3% in 2016. The major multinational organizations are muscling in. You can buy a Mars, a Snickers, Bounty bars, all with added protein at most newsagents. I would also say that Kellogg's have done this as well, which I find very interesting. I don't know if you've noticed that. Have you seen the Weetabix protein?
No.
Oh yeah, you can now get, right, this is so funny. apparently, right, just going back, around half of all UK consumers are apparently seeking to add extra protein into their diets. And this is according to the cereal brand Weetabix. So they cashed in by putting in an extra higher protein Weetabix, a 24 pack, which costs 50 pence more than the same size original Weetabix. So yeah, I mean, the reason that we're getting so much protein, a fifth more on average than is needed, is because, like, apparently we're going seeking it. Apparently we want it. Like, the mania has become insane and they're adding protein into everything.
Yeah, well, absolutely. Like, I mean, if you go back to your war on carbs, like, that is a symptom of this whole idea that, you know, carbs are like the worst thing ever. So you got to cut out all carbs and get as much protein as possible. I remember specifically being on the slow carb diet, which is basically like a paleo diet. It's like adjacent to the keto diet or the Atkins diet. It's like, you know, high protein, low carb, whatever.
Yeah.
I remember walking around the supermarket, like scanning items, like what's more protein, and you'll actually find that a lot of, and this is like, you know, this is like about 15 years ago now. So the boom where they started adding protein to packages, like this is before that. Like I specifically remember those moments in time.
Yeah.
But I remember like going around, it's like, yeah, like, oh, I can't have pasta, I can't have rice, I can't have bread, I can't have cereal, I can't have da 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 da. So you find yourself in like the meat aisle, like getting, oh, what are some meat-based snacks that I can eat? You know, because it's a carb. Yeah. It's a carb that you reach for when you want a snack. Usually, like, you know, it's like a packet of crisps or a slice of bread or whatever. Yeah. You know, it's things like that. It's not, you're not exactly being like going about your day and be like, oh geez, I'd love a few ribs. You know, like
it's so true actually. There's very rarely that you're ever like, I just want a piece of meat. Could I just get like a slice of ham? Like for the most part, you need that energy. You are kind of going for something that's a bit more substantial, a bit more like, well, a combination of all things. But you're so right. That is exactly where this protein accession is coming from.
The companies catch on and they go, oh, everyone's trying to eat more protein and cut stuff. So then you end up having, you know, products that are basically just carbs, like Weetabix, for example, you know, which is like something that if you're on a protein heavy diet, they'll be like, don't you dare eat Weetabix. Then Weetabix come out and they're like, hey, but now it has protein in it, you know, like or it has added protein or whatever.
Well, do you know what's funny, right? Before we even get into that, because that's so true, but what exactly is protein? Like, this is the question that was, when I was looking this up, I was like, I don't even know if I really know what protein actually means. Well, here's a little, now this is going to be what I call the science section of this episode, okay? What is protein? Well, proteins are large biomolecules and macromolecules that comprise one or more long chains of amino acid residues. Proteins are made up of these building blocks known as amino acids. Our body needs dietary protein to supply amino acids for growth and maintenance of our cells and tissues. Protein is the only macronutrient to contain nitrogen, without which we cannot grow or reproduce. There are 9 amino acid proteins, the building blocks of human tissue, that we can only get from food. So without them, we wouldn't be able to have things like healthy hair, nails, bones, muscle, you know, great little things. They are an essential nutrient that is needed by the body for growth, repairing damaged cells and making hormones and building muscle. However, they're not the only ones. Okay, and we do need others such as carbohydrates, you know what I mean? Fats. You know, these things are very important that we need. Typically associated with bodybuilding, protein powders themselves have grown in popularity in recent years. People now use protein powder to meet the daily protein needs, gain or lose weight, or with certain medical conditions, or when recovering from injury and surgery. There are 2 types of protein powder, animal and plant. Popular animal proteins are whey and casein, while pea and soy are the favourite amongst plant-based users. I just want to talk about this. As I mentioned before, protein is essential. No one's disregarding that. But it also is essential with 2 others, which is a carbohydrate and a fat. What I find very interesting is that really, actually, the people who are consuming more protein aren't really the people who need to consume more protein. The people who need to consume more protein, as I mentioned before, are those in childhood, adolescence, during pregnancy or breastfeeding, or the elderly. Our protein needs do not remain constant over a lifespan. So, as I mentioned before, 0.8 grams per kilogram of body weight is enough for, say, a 20-something, a 30-something, but not for an octogenarian. If anyone needs extra protein. It's not young gym goers, but old people. Particularly those on low incomes who may struggle to buy or cook meals for themselves. Instead of protein bars for the young and rich, we need omelets and chickpea soup for the old and poor. From the age of 50 onwards, we are progressively losing muscle and our protein requirements become higher. Apparently, the rates of protein malnutrition are alarmingly high in elderly people admitted to hospitals. So I find that is very interesting to me, that actually, like, again, with all of the, like, I suppose, misinformation out there that there is with diet culture in particular, is that we think it's like the people who are really going for that extra protein yogurt or the extra protein in Weetabix aren't the elderly people that probably do need it. And also, where is the protein coming from? Is it coming from, like, you know, again, a kind of yogurt that's like, I don't know, banoffee pie flavored? Or is it coming from, like, I don't know, a piece of fish or some lentils? Like, I think that's what's more interesting to me, is that I'm like, oh, right, the ones who are chugging protein powder at the gym probably aren't the ones that need the protein. So, like, as we mentioned before, say, like, in the 1950s, it was like, oh, don't go near fat. Fat's terrible. And then suddenly it changed when they were like, oh, actually, in the Mediterranean, they tend to live longer by eating, like, olive oil and, you know, fats. The next thing it was like, oh, actually, do you know what? You need fats, or else you have a higher chance of having a stroke or type 2 diabetes, as Canadian researchers found in 2015. And then next thing, it's the case against sugar. Oh, you can't be eating sugar, especially not from refined carbohydrates. Well, in between low fattest or low carbohydrates having this massive row about what you can and can't eat, we do have to eat something. And so high protein came around. Next thing you know, we're like, well, we know protein's good, so we'll just go for that. I found that, like, for myself anyway, when I was actually looking into, like, what is protein powder? Like, I think what's very interesting is a lot of people who for a long time would have been like, I'm into clean eating, I'm into this. I wouldn't know what's in protein powder. Did you know what whey protein powder is made from, Conor?
Whey
yourself?
protein powder is, as far as I know, it's the waste products from the dairy industry.
That is exactly it. I did not know this. I was so surprised.
Yeah, I only know that because I'm vegan, you know, and I know that, like, and a lot of the kind of, you know, a lot of chocolate bars and biscuits and stuff like that, and like even products in stores have, you know, you look at the ingredients, you go, oh, is this vegan? No, it says it has milk powder in it. That's basically like a crappy, like, you know, you might have a better description of exactly what whey is, but it's like kind of like the runoff, like after they've like produced like a bunch of like cheese and
it's basically whey from whey protein is the watery stuff left over during the cheese making process after the curds are separated off. On traditional dairy farms, it was put to good use from like bread making to pickles. For the most part, it was seen as a nuisance, and they used to just like throw it out or like give it to pigs.
So someone is basically making a killing off this crap. You know,
I cannot believe it. You know who actually, by the way, who did kind of make it a thing was a guy called David Jenkins. He was a Scottish track and field athlete and a silver medalist at the Munich Olympics, who basically had the idea of marketing whey protein as a recovery optimizer for athletes. It was launched in health food stores in South California and Hawaii in 1988. And at first it was a really niche product amongst like cyclists and triathletes. And then it's sort of just, you know, like anything, after a while you need to make something grow. And then suddenly it's like, oh yeah, we're going to, you know, like everyday people can do this. But it's so mad to me that
it's crazy.
It's crazy that a health food can be like basically the shit that's left over from making cheese.
Yeah. It's kind of like the leftover bits in like a slaughterhouse are the bits that go off to a meat grinder, and then that turns into like dog food. You know, it's kind of like that. So it's like they're it's very economical. Like they're making their money, you know, but it's like the customer ends up consuming this product, like, you know.
Listen, they used to have to throw it out. Like, I'm happy we're doing something with it, but at the same time, as that dietitian at the beginning said, we're taking in so much protein. You're probably pissing that whey protein out of you.
Yeah,
There's no way
that's
you're
crazy.
like consuming it. Yeah, go on.
There was a recent story. Now, I can't sit here and badmouth whey protein without kind of talking a little bit about plant-based protein, but I don't know if you have this in your research, but there was a recent story that showed that protein powders, a lot of popular like brands of protein powders have worryingly high levels of lead in them.
Yes, I did.
Did you come across that?
Yeah, I didn't actually include it in the research for today because I feel like that's protein powders in itself. Well, I'm like, I know I'm touching on that, but it is so funny that I was like, yeah, that actually, I mean, what I did see across my research is that there is no long-term effects, no long-term studies about the effects of how much this protein is going to do to us in the sense of like, I'm going to talk about some people and I have some like, particularly with men and muscle building and like then some people who found negative effects when it came to taking in this much protein. However, those are isolated incidents, not isolated, but we just don't have long-term studies. And that's something that does alarm me because this protein powder thing is so new in terms of seeing everyday people drinking all these protein powders. And I'm like, you're doing a gym session and you come out and you drink a whole thing of protein powder. We can't tell what that's going to do to your body long term. And again, it might do nothing. But again, if you're like with the lead thing, we don't know. The
lead thing, I'll just make the point that, you know, there's an idea as well with, you know, you talk about greenwashing, you know, people will go, oh, well, you know, I'm trying to cut out dairy because either I'm a vegan or I hear it's bad for my health or whatever. So I won't have whey protein. I'll go for the plant-based protein, the vegan stuff that's, you know, what could be, you know, unhealthy about that? And then you find out, oh, actually, there's like worryingly high levels of lead in a lot of the brands. It's something to do with the soil and the plants that are grown, etc. But I don't fully understand it. But it's like, oh, great, another thing that's just not healthy for you, you know?
I know, and like this is the thing, you know. I suppose when it came to the lead thing as well, like. I'm a person who I don't get organic vegetables because why? Yeah. Because at the same time, first of all, I'm poor. And so, I'm going for the lowest priced vegetable. I'm not going for the organic one. But also I do think there's a lot of fear mongering in food. And so I didn't want to add to that. Like that lead thing, I did see it and I was like, okay, but like, listen, I'm guzzling Pepsi Max over here. I'm not judging anyone who's going to be drinking protein powder, I'm sure. Yeah. I will just say that it did seem interesting to me that there are no studies of the long-term effects of what this much protein is going to do to our bodies. Yeah. But anyway, it's funny that you mentioned vegetable protein because actually I also think what I found in this, again, because of and I do think this protein thing is a type of diet. No matter what way you look at it, it is a type of diet that people are leaning into. Vegetable proteins are seen as almost like low quality compared to meat, eggs, and dairy. Vegetable proteins such as lentils and peas. Christopher Gardner, a professor of medicine at Stanford University, has argued that the quality argument is misleading. His great discovery that all plant sources of protein, from peanuts to edamame beans, contain all essential amino acids, which is, again, the 9 amino acids that we need, that we get from food. Admittedly, they're smaller concentrations of amino acids than meat or eggs, but in the context of plentiful and varied diet, that doesn't matter. Pulses such as lentils contain around 25% protein, but are also 25% carbohydrate. So like what he mentioned, and I thought it was very interesting, when he takes, this man, Saltmarsh, takes his product to food fairs, he finds that bodybuilders and fitness enthusiasts will pick up a packet of pea flour and be like, oh, yes, great, because pea protein has become fashionable. But then when they see it contains carbohydrates, they'll put it back down. And again, this fear of carbohydrates really is so interesting to me that, like, I think, personally speaking, that because in a way, a lot of people might want to admit they're on a diet at the moment, or maybe they're going to be like, I don't want to say I want to lose weight, if they want to or not. They won't say they're staying away from carbohydrates. They'll say, oh, I'm concentrating on protein. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, and I think there was that study about the discovery that all the amino acids existed in plant foods, that's only recent, you know, and up until that, it was believed that they were incomplete and they were incomplete proteins. So you had to mix different protein sources to get a complete protein, unless you were eating animal protein, you know,
right?
Which is, you know, said to be complete protein. But what's super interesting is, and this is, you know, it's hard for me as a vegan not to talk about like the kind of vegan aspect of it, because like, trust me, like you get grilled so much by people when you don't even say you're vegan, you just order your dinner and they're like, what the fuck is wrong with you?
But even at the beginning of the episode, like it's, you know, that one expert was like, protein malnutrition is very rare. Like it doesn't happen. And you'd swear that vegans were like in the hospital in ICU every day from protein malnutrition.
Exactly. But it's funny with the animals, you know, because you're getting the meat from the animals who don't eat meat. You know what I mean? So where are the animals getting their protein from?
Oh,
you know,
right,
like cows eat grass. You know, cows eat grass and seeds and stuff like that, and they drink their mother's milk when they're a baby and stuff like that. But for the most part, they graze. You know, they eat like that kind of feed. So yeah, it's like it is present in the plant world.
It's so interesting to me, Conor. I am, because I am not a vegan, I will say. So me and Conor, we like to highlight both sides of the argument here. Although I don't eat meat, but I do eat fish. But it is so funny because actually, here's a little, you'll enjoy this as a vegan. In 2016, Kendrick Farris, who is a vegan, was the only American to compete in the men's weightlifting at the Rio Olympics. So he's representing your people, Conor. But if you want to know really like how prevalent this protein diet is, right? On TikTok alone, okay, the hashtag protein has nearly 9 billion views.
9 billion?
While the hashtags fiber and carbohydrate have less than 1 billion.
What? That is very out of balance.
I feel like people just don't understand. Like, I also am like these people who are eating this much protein, do you go to the toilet? Like, what's your toilet situation? Like, are you pooing? Anyway, listen, I just wanted to read this because I thought it was very interesting, right? Tamika Turner, a 30-year-old content creator in Brooklyn, says she recently got caught up in the buzz. This is from a particular article I was reading. When it comes to protein promotion content online, she said, I was putting collagen bone broth powder into actual bone broth. And at that point, you have to step back and tell yourself to get a grip. If you have a history of disordered eating, focusing all your energy on high protein is like teetering off the edge of a cliff.
That is bonkers.
Yeah. But like if you go on TikTok now, Conor, and you put in protein, like you are going to see the amount of people who talk about their protein, that they have like protein goals in the morning. Like in the morning, they'll be like, yeah, I want to have like 14 grams of protein in the morning. In the morning. Like 50 grams is what you should probably be having throughout the day. And in the morning
hang on a
is
second.
like...
That ain't nothing compared to the slow carb diet. He insists that you get, as he called it, 30 within 30, as in have 30 grams of protein within 30 minutes of waking up. So that, you know, you're just launching those eggs into yourself.
Oh my God, that is insane. Oh my God, you poor thing, Conor. The obsession with getting enough protein overshadows how commonly many nutrients are underconsumed, such as potassium, calcium, dietary fiber, and vitamin D. And more pressing common health issues like heart disease can be linked to. Despite these facts, some wellness coaches, such as Ben Wilkes Fargo, are using their platform to, as you say, posit that 50 grams of protein is not enough for a garden gnome. Although videos like Beth Wilkes Fargo's will have their mission of promoting heavy protein consumption can seem compelling in a 30-second clip, registered dietitian Marissa Moore cautions against focusing on any food or nutrient group alone. She says the current protein push is part of diet culture. Many of these posting about and following high protein diets are using it as a means for weight loss. It's not like the healthy promoting idea it's made out to be. It's just another iteration of the same story. Eat like me to look like me.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to just talk very quickly now, since that has come up, that it is basically a diet. The link between this protein obsession and men. I think protein, it's the first time I'm seeing really very evident disordered eating or eating disorders with men when it comes to protein.
Where my boys at?
Where my boys, where my bros at? Where my protein bros? Basically, I was reading an article about how bodybuilding supplement overuse signals a new male eating disorder. Products that are popular amongst gym members to increase energy and build lean muscle mass are basically, this is from the Alliant International University in Los Angeles, said that the overuse is increasing and can be dangerous. Now, this is a quote from Richard Arcio of California Professional Psychology at the university. He said, men are using supplements in a way that is risky to both their physical health and their health in terms of relationships and their own emotional well-being. It's an expression or variance of eating disorder behavior in men. This professor, Richard Arcio, goes on to say, overuse of the products, which are not regulated by the US Food and Drug Administration, can cause diarrhea, kidney disease, and renal failure. He said, together, low self-esteem and gender role conflict, which is an underlying sense of insecurity about one's masculinity, contribute more to the overuse of these products than body dissatisfaction alone. He presented his research and found in a study that of nearly 200 men who took supplements in the past month that 29% expressed concern about using them. 8% admit that their doctors told them to cut back or stop, and 40% said their use had increased over time. He said statistically that excessive use of supplements was a form of an eating disorder. He goes on, the way in which men's bodies are being objectified by the media is catching up rapidly to what has been done to women's bodies for decades. It makes sense to believe that as that occurs, men's mental health and emotional issues are going to be expressed more and more in eating disorder behaviour. Hi, Fad Camp listeners. Myself and Conor finally got our act together and we have official Fad Camp merch up for sale. We are so excited. Now, my particular favourite is the enamel mug and the beanie, but we have loads of products for sale. So if you want to get any of our Fad Camp merch, please go to fadcamp.myshopify.com. That's fadcamp.myshopify.com. You'll be able to find the link to where our merch is for sale in our Instagram bio and our TikTok bio, as well as we'll have a little link in all of our episode descriptions.
Hey guys, hope you're enjoying the episode. If you want to hear more bonus exclusive content for Fad Camp, make sure to log on to Head Stuff Plus, and for as little as $5 a month, you can support our show and other shows in the Head Stuff Podcast Network and hear exclusive content from Fad Camp. That's bonus episodes, photos, videos. It's a really good time, so we hope to see you there. Now, back to the show.
What do you think about that, Conor, yourself?
That's incredible. I think that's like very much what you and I have kind of picked up on, you know, like in various kind of researches that we've done. But to hear it kind of distilled like that is really powerful. And yeah, like, I mean, I think there is always part of me that kind of goes like, okay, it maybe it's catching up, but it's not on par. It's not on par with kind of, you know, what the societal kind of pressure and, you know, punishment that happens to women, you know. But I think it's important to kind of see that there can be crossovers and similarities. There is a universality to how we feel, you know, in various ways about our bodies and stuff like that. And I think the protein one is super interesting because, you know, particularly around eating meat, that's kind of considered this masculine, manly kind of
for sure
thing,
yeah.
You know. And, you know, we did an episode about like the carnivore diet, which is like, you know, obviously just like all the protein in the world. And, you know, I've probably mentioned before that like there's this idea that, oh, well, our ancestors were hunter-gatherers, you know, and they went out hunting and eating meat, and it was the men who hunted, and it was the women who gathered, and, you know, studies...
Which, by the way, archaeologists now are like, no, we're finding more and more that absolutely is not true.
Yeah, it was more like 70-30, like gatherer-hunter kind of thing, you know?
Yeah,
but it's more exciting and sexy to talk about, like, you know, hunting and eating meat and all of that sort of thing, you know? So I think that the connection between this obsession with protein and the what did you say, the gender role insecurity?
Yeah, the gender role and the insecurity, and I think like that actually hit me more, where I was like, like the fact that you can think your masculinity comes from literally looking a certain way.
Yeah,
that is what it's been like for women forever, which is your femininity comes from the way you look. If your masculinity comes from the way you look, that's a slippery slope, man.
Totally. And let me tell you something.
Let me tell you something.
Well, just one for little boys in the audience. The men and boys on the internet who are muscly and shredded and selling you, they're always trying to sell you something.
Yeah.
That are trying to sell you the idea of getting more built or buying protein, or maybe they're actually like, here's a link to buy protein.
Yeah.
Those bros, 95% of them, steroids.
Oh, absolutely.
Steroids.
Listen, guys, we've heard through the grapevine of many of, you know, maybe people in our, culture using steroids that we can't actually talk about on the podcast, because to be honest with you, I wouldn't name anyone, because unless you have proof, I'm not going to say it.
I'm very private about my steroid use, you know.
But me and Conor are sitting here mostly. But what I mean is, like,
we don't want to speculate like a tabloid would.
I'm not going to go like out and be like, there's a rumor that this. No, but it's pretty much a known fact that like a lot of people are on here on steroids, and they're going to make you think that they're not, or that their body transformations are not coming from that.
Yeah.
That is like, unfortunately, a lot of people saying that they lost weight and it wasn't from Ozempic. And like, some people are using Ozempic and they're very open about it. And I actually think if you're going to do it, you know, great to be open about it, because like, don't be under any illusion. It's the same. Steroids, for some reason, has not had that. It has not had that big break of like people going, yeah, I'm on steroids. Because you know why? Because a lot of, particularly men, find it too shameful to say out loud that they are.
And not only that, but because there isn't a big conversation in the world about men and what they're doing to their bodies and why they're doing it. And like, yeah, like you will see these YouTube guys and TikTok guys saying that like, okay, here's what you need to do to lose fat, build muscle, get shredded. But as a little add-on, what I like to do is this little thing called steroids, testosterone, whatever.
Yeah.
And, you know, there is a normalization happening around it. I think even though there is shame kind of maybe in the kind of the celeb kind of, you know, public facing kind of sphere, but a lot of workout gym guys will be like, oh yeah, like I just wouldn't have the shoulders I have, the veins in my muscles, whatever it is. I just would not have that if I just went to the gym and drank protein shakes. It just wouldn't happen, you know?
Well, it's good to hear them say that, but I just, I haven't heard anyone say it, but maybe I'm just not watching those videos or whatever.
Sure.
As religiously as you are, Conor.
No, absolutely. No, I have, you do see people talk about that, and like, I think, and yeah, like young guys talking about taking steroids and all this sort of stuff. And yeah, you see their physiques and you're like, that like, when I was like 18 or 19, there were no guys who had physiques like that. Like, you know what I mean?
But do you not think that's so interesting?
I was checking.
Because, you know, obviously with the rise of Ozempic in the last few years, I find that loads of people have come out and said, I'm on Ozempic, as in like stars and stuff. Like, you know, Oprah's very honest about it, and there's a lot of these actresses, but it's women coming out and saying it. Again, you don't see that in like, say, I don't know if there's actors out there who are on it, who definitely are. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
And they're not coming out and talking about it. Or is it because the media aren't asking them? Is it because studios are like, well, no, like you're not going to say that you're doing that. And like, I just think that's what's interesting is this fixation on protein not being linked at all to steroid use, or the fact that like men are being influenced by steroid use. I would also say it's just that statement of like, as the media continue to fixate on men's physiques, which is I definitely have noticed it myself anyway, in the last decade, for sure, men are feeling a bit more of the pressure. Now, we're still getting celebrated for the dad bods, which more than happy to celebrate the old dad bods out there. But I do think that like we're going to see more and more that men's mental health is going to be expressed through eating disorders. And I saw a TikTok that I know is so silly to reference a TikTok, but I saw a TikTok that said, and it was a woman saying, if you had a 14-year-old girl talk about food the way a gym bro does, you'd be like, oh, I actually think this girl has an eating disorder.
Wow. Yeah.
And I do think that the way sometimes I hear these guys in the way how strict they are with their regimes and what they eat, and I'm like, if you were a friend of mine, a woman, I'd be like, you might be getting a bit overboard here. Like you're saying you don't eat this, you don't eat that, I'll only eat this, I won't eat that. Like you're starting to go down a road here that's a bit worrying. And at the same time as well, not only that, is it about health or is it about getting this physique? Like, because if it's health, as the NHS, as many of these World Health Organizations have said, you don't be needing that much protein. Like that's nothing to do with your health. So it's a physique thing. And that's actually where the issue is. Like why are so many people who aren't bodybuilders, who aren't athletes, suddenly guzzling protein?
Yeah, I know. It just kind of had me thinking about like, you know, people I know and guys in particular that like, you have to wonder like, what is the goal? Like, you know, and I just see a lot of the physiques that you see online of men who are super built and ripped and all of that. It's so unattainable. But like the cost of trying to achieve that is, you know, okay, there's a financial cost, but it's more the health. It's like, what is it doing to your heart? What is it doing to your lifestyle, you know? And like, and then
your kidneys are working overtime. Like, what's it doing to your kidneys? Yeah, for sure.
And then and then it's like, it's again, like an extreme diet. Is it sustainable? You know, is this like, you don't just get to the point where you're super jacked and then be like, cool, okay, I can stop now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Guarantee you stop that and start eating normally again and stop doing the workouts. Maybe you have to stop. Maybe you get an injury or something like that, you know, or maybe a doctor tells you got to fucking slow down. Then you watch the weight come back on, watch the muscle disappear at like an alarming rate. As like, if it took like you 2 years to get into that physique, it'll be like 6 months before like you're just like,
oh, babe, 6 weeks. I think like 6 days. If I change something in 6 days, I'm suddenly like, you know what I mean? Yeah. But it's so funny that you say that, because when you said there, what is the cost of obtaining it? I'm like, affect the cost of obtaining it. Anyone who's ever been on a diet, what is the cost of maintaining it? Mm-hmm. If you get to a certain stage where you're suddenly, and I quote unquote, happy with your body, which I don't think I've yet met a person who either, you know what I mean? Like even like particularly these muscle guys, as you said, what's the aim? What's the end goal here? Mm-hmm. Because if you want to look like, say, and we go back to our Marvel episode where Chris Evans coming out in Captain America, absolute beefcake. You listen to him on that day trying to get that image. That image was for, 30 seconds of screen time?
Yeah.
Hellish to try get. And it wasn't even gotten through, like, as in, like, even on the day, they'd use makeup, they'd use lighting. You are never going to be able to maintain that unless you are so strict that you do not live a life. Like, a lot of people who maintain these physiques in some manner, they're being paid to do it, whether they're bodybuilders or, like, athletes. In an everyday life, is it possible? I don't think so. And you might kill yourself trying to do it. Or at least you'll kill your mental health trying to do it. I want to just finish on one or two kind of examples here, but I was just going to talk about David L. Cutts, who's an American doctor. I think his latest book is The Truth About Food. Anyway, he came out with this quote that I thought was really interesting. He said, most of us in rich countries, now I'm saying rich in quotes here, but are fixating on a problem that does not exist. There are serious health concerns that a very high protein intake over a lifetime can result in harm to the liver, kidneys and skeleton. As he mentioned, he said, first they told us to cut fat, but instead of whole grains and lentils, we we ate low-fat junk food. Now, this is his, interpretation. We are disassociating the nutrient from its food source. This article, there was an interviewer asking David Cutts how much protein a person should consume. And he, again, maintained the 0.8 grams per kilo of body weight. I said the problem is that once we start thinking more protein is automatically better, it can be hard to know when to stop. The idea that protein is synonymous with healthy eating leads many people to eat in disordered ways that are far from healthy, either for body or mind. Now, there was some examples from these articles. As I mentioned, I'll put them in the show notes again. But this is one of Sarah Shepherd, a 30-something British sports journalist who realised she was kind of becoming obsessed with protein. Basically, she said on a typical day, she was eating 3 or 4 protein bars, hard-boiled eggs, meat, fish, and non-starchy vegetables, and a couple of protein shakes. Virtually the only carbs in her diet came from protein bars and shakes. It reached a point where she had so little energy in the evenings because of lack of calories in her bodies, she stopped going out. Her protein obsession started when an injury forced her to give up running. So that's something that you brought up, Conor, like what if you get an injury? After she started doing boxing and circuits with a new trainer, he told her she should be eating more protein to prevent future injuries. To start with, like a low carb, high protein regime. She lost weight, gained muscle, and was one of the many people at the gym clutching their flask of protein shakes. However, she noticed her thoughts about protein were becoming obsessive. Given the choice between an apple or a protein bar, she always chose the protein bar, even though on a rational level, she knew a piece of fresh fruit with fibre and vitamins had a lot to recommend it. By the time she finally sought help from a sports nutritionist, he said he had never seen anyone with such an intense fitness regime who ate so little carbohydrate. She was consuming 150 grams of protein a day.
Wow.
That's around 2.5 grams per kilo body weight, which, as we know, it's 0.8 grams recommended. So she slowly started to wean it off herself. But in a way, what she said at the end of this article was like she was mystified how she had kind of drifted into this protein obsession. But I think actually her story there is really an example of how easy it is to become fixated and become a disordered eating or an eating disorder. There was then in 2017 sensationalist headlines when Megan Hefford, a 25-year-old Australian bodybuilder, died after consuming high amounts of protein shakes and supplements. Hefford
oh my God.
I know, yeah. Now, I'm just going to be very careful with this because basically Hefford hadn't realised she was suffering from a condition called urea cycle disorder, which meant that her body couldn't metabolize protein normally. So,
oh my God.
Obviously this coverage, and again, this was in 2017, there was a lot of sensationalist headlines. People did make the point that she had a condition. Do you know what I mean? Like, it wasn't like, but at the same time, although this may be true, there is a significant minority of the population for whom a high protein diet is not advisable. So 4.3% or more of adults in the UK have chronic kidney disease. And like a large amount of protein from red meat can cause that kind of damage. And again, and I agree, like sensationalist headlines about this death isn't fair because someone can, listen, I always mention this. I've done the marathon twice. But there are people with underlying heart conditions who die from doing the marathon and they don't realise it. Do you know what I mean? Like these are things that can happen. But it is also important, again, for me to say that we don't have any studies about what this long-term high protein diet can do to our bodies. Yeah. We don't know because it's a fairly new obsession. Long-term effects on the body, a fixation on protein can become a form of eating disorder. 3 years ago, as I mentioned, Richard Archeo decided to study men in Los Angeles engaging in excessive protein powders. Of the nearly 200 men who were using protein supplements and found that for many of them, protein had become a variant of disordered eating that threatened their health. These men felt under intense pressure to achieve bodies that were not just thin, but that exhibited a supposedly ideal ratio of fat to muscle. 3% of the group, as I mentioned, or I didn't mention before, but 3% of the sample group had been hospitalised as a result of excessive supplement use, yet still viewed supplements as healthy. Eating disorders have complex causes. Archeo mentioned that men who are overusing protein supplements also tended to be suffering from body dissatisfaction, low self-esteem, and a sense of insecurity about their own masculinity. Yeah, I mean, I don't know how much more we want to say about it, but for me, I found it really interesting that, like, I myself right now have yogurts in the fridge that are high protein yogurts, right?
Yeah.
And,
we all have stuff like that. We all have
stuff
I've
like
got
that.
protein powder and stuff like that. Yeah.
Yeah. And what I found so interesting was, like, I bought those yogurts again in my head thinking they were healthier. And, like, what's mad about it is I was like, when I was doing the research, I kind of came a bit defensive and I was like, but I just like those yogurts. And then I was like, I actually don't. I actually don't. They kind of taste like nothing. Yeah. And I was like, well, why am I buying them? But they've just become part of my weekly shop. And I was like, you know, I do some Olympic weightlifting and stuff. And I thought, oh, well, those yogurts will be good. And I don't know why. Because I just assumed because they have high protein in them. And now I'm like, I don't even like these yogurts. Why am I eating these yogurts?
Yeah. If you want a yogurt, just have a yogurt, you know?
Yeah.
And like, I also, just when you're talking about the girl who developed the protein obsession and like talking about protein bars, like, oh my God, like protein bars, like I enjoy an occasional protein bar.
Oh, I do too. Yeah. Yeah.
But I think we can all agree that you're eating a protein bar knowing that this is not going to make any difference to your health. Do you know what I mean? Like, this is not going to... Most of them are full of sugar. And if they're not full of sugar, they're full of artificial sweeteners, which, you know, are meant to not be great for you, all whatever. But you think you're eating a health product. And, you know, since we've lived through this protein boom, like 10 years ago or 15 years ago, you went into a shop, there might have been one or two types of protein bars, like, you know, maybe, like at least in Ireland. Now there's whole shelves where there's like 10 different kinds.
It's crazy.
You know,
yeah.
And some of them are made to just mimic like a candy bar, you know, like with chocolate and caramel.
But that's the Snickers ones now. There's Mars bar ones. Yeah.
Exactly. You know, so it's like you're kind of kidding yourself eating it. And it's like, I think maybe it's in the anti-diet or maybe it's in the wellness trap. I think it's in the anti-diet where Christy Harrison talks more on the kind of like intuitive eating kind of perspective. Yeah. It's like usually the fake healthy version of the thing you want isn't going to hit the spot. So if you're going to have a Mars bar, have a Mars bar. You know, if you're going to have a Snickers,
have a delicious Snickers, which is always better than a Mars bar.
That's it. If you're going to have, hot take, shots fired. Oh my God, you're coming at me? You're coming at me right now, Grace? Whoa, I thought we were friends. But like, yeah, if you're going to have a banoffee yogurt, have the banoffee yogurt and not the, you know, protein infused, whatever.
The banoffee flavored piece of shit. Like, it's so true. Yeah. I you know, I always think of this quote by Nigella Lawson, the great chef, and someone was, you know, she's been criticized anyway for how many calories are in some of her desserts, and she said, I don't believe in eating a low-fat Nutella cheesecake. If you're going to have Nutella cheesecake, have Nutella cheesecake.
Absolutely.
And I think it's the same with protein. Like, you can get protein from a lot of things. I don't think you need to inject protein into, I don't know, a bagel. You know what I mean? If you're going to have a bagel, and it's okay. And it's like this fear of fats and carbohydrates. And again, it takes away the joy of eating, and it takes away the kind of like, I suppose, taking a step back and being like, did I get satisfied by that meal? Was that meal satisfying? Do I feel more energy from it? Because food can really boost our day. If you're a person who exercises a lot, please make sure you're having some fiber and carbohydrates. Like it's, you know what I mean? Your body doesn't deserve to be punished. It's great.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Fad Camp. As always, we want to thank our producer, Darren Lee. If you enjoyed this episode, please feel free to review us on iTunes, Google Podcasts, or wherever you listen to your podcasts.
Great ratings and reviews really help more people find the show, and it would mean a lot to us.
Make sure to share the episodes with friends and family or on your social media. Every listen helps.
And we absolutely love hearing from our listeners, so please get in touch with any of your diet stories on fadcamppodcast@gmail.com.
This show is part of the Head Stuff Podcast Network, a hub for the creative and the curious. Shows are produced in association with Head Stuff and the Podcast Studios Dublin. Find out more or become a member at headstuffpodcasts.com.